Hi, George. Got some pizza.
Oh, everyone.
Hi.
Hi.
We got a space for you over here. Where you going? Okay, it's recording. There we go. We're all compliant.
We got a full house here tonight.
Actually, no, we don't.
Didn't until you have enough of you. We are just right.
Oh,
Oh,
I
boy.
thought Graduate told me how hot blooded you are.
Yeah. Welcome, George.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
You're in any business, I see.
I do see that, yeah, you see my van. Just two little bales in there,
Yeah, multitasking, that's what I like.
thousands of pounds, you know it. Not gonna make two trips, you know. Don't have lights on the trailer, but I'm still not gonna make two trips.
You need a truck.
We could kind of use a truck, yeah. In the meantime, I'm in a van, works great. All right, friends, let's call this meeting to order. 5:35. November 21st. We have a quorum. Thank you, everybody, for coming. Now we wanna, okay, so first the video conferencing, usually we approve the last meeting's minutes, but,
In order to have that vote count,
oh, got it.
you need to have, well,
it right away.
you have a quorum. So you can pass it, but then whoever Tammy's vote can also count for any subsequent voting.
Okay. Great, thank you. Well, I had a few questions when I read over the video conferencing thing, but is anybody else, we'll open with discussion and then anybody else's questions for the video conferencing law?
Was this, yeah, the only general question I had, did this come from Cornell?
No, it came from the New York State Office on Open Governance.
Okay.
And it was the template that was sent out with the law, the original resolution that you adopted. So I just filled in CCE Essex.
Yeah.
Right down the line.
Yeah. Because I thought it was pretty fair, but I did wonder if some of the days, like the 4 days, to be able to announce it 4 days ahead, if that was, again, if there was a reason behind that, if that was caught, you know. some
Well, we
code.
already do have to announce meetings ahead of
Right.
time.
Yeah.
Lori
But
already
is it
does post.
4
in three
days or is it
places.
2 days, or, I mean, did that?
72 hours, but
Right.
4 days. I mean, I get a press release out and I don't know what you do, because I, you know, this is addressed if somebody was last minute right now wanting to join.
Mhm.
I mean,
I don't think they can. I don't know how to do
Wanting to
that.
Zoom join,
Zoom join,
got it.
right? I mean, the public can, but if the, you know, if like Steve McNally's got a family emergency, I'm gonna just Zoom from Minerva. Well, we did not, you know, but I don't know, these are really good questions because
Mm,
from my understanding of reading this. We wouldn't let people go into Tammy's home. I mean, we're not, you know, their extraordinary circumstances, it's illness or anything. Why would that be a place for the public to join? It was during COVID,
Mhm.
but now I think the way I interpret it is. They can join from home as long as you guys agree that it's an extraordinary circumstance. The public knows now there is a Zoom link. We don't have to have a Zoom link if we're gonna have a quorum in person.
Mhm.
But if we do have a Zoom link, then the public gets to know that. And they can join us here in person, or they can have the Zoom link.
Mhm.
That's how I interpret it, but.
And I think that's how we should interpret it until something comes across differently.
It comes up because our policy was, we did not publish any addresses.
Mhm.
Unless somebody called and said, hey, I want to join that place in J or wherever.
Mhm.
And no one ever did. You know, we never did any of that. Nobody ever asked.
But that gets back to the 4 days is, you know, are these
Mhm.
things based upon just general best practices and guidance, or is it based upon a reason in which 4 days, because something comes up, I mean, things come up at the last minute all the time. The shorter the time frame, the easier it is for us to be able to call in and say we can't be there.
Well, it definitely is designed to allow for some people to do that, but not for everyone to do that, no more than. Well, there still have to be 6 in person. though.
Yeah.
That is a really interesting point that I hadn't really considered as far as providing where the public location is. So I think that, gosh, I hate to extend this for another meeting, but we can designate a public, I think if they're participating from a private location, we can designate a public location where we would have to go and set something up. Or we could tell them,
Just understood that
here is
the
the
place
place.
that we say, I mean, this is where I advertise.
Mhm, This
Yeah,
is
this is
the
the
public.
public.
This is
our
the public
place.
location.
This is the public location. Anyone's welcome to join here.
Mhm.
We also, if they can't, we have a Zoom link if we choose to have that option. Like this month, we may not have, if Tammy King was
No.
coming down here,
Mhm.
we may not have done.
Yeah. So I think in that case, I mean, I guess I was thinking that we had to provide them.
Another public location in that physical space
Yeah,
somewhere.
I
And
don't know.
I think a virtual public location
Mhm.
is sufficient.
I think so too. And this came straight from them. So I think that until, I don't know, I would adopt it. I would just recommend adopting it. It'll allow for people to have extraordinary circumstances occasionally and if we cut down the number of full board meetings over the course of time, hopefully it won't be as much of an imposition on all of you.
And it's my understanding that if we give the 4 days notice, we can vote and still be part of the quorum as board members. Right, if-
No, there's
No.
always has to be six in person,
Okay.
always. But it can rotate who can come in by Zoom. So if you want to set yourselves up a schedule of zooming in and not coming up to every meeting, it's supposed to be for extraordinary circumstances, not planned ahead.
Right,
Yeah.
no, but if you know something is gonna come up, I
Mhm.
guess, and you do have that notice, or you have a conflict, then. And you register with Lori ahead of
Mhm.
time, then you can be a voting member of the
If
quorum,
there are
as long
6
as
in
there's
person.
6 in person.
Yes.
Yes, okay, great, I just
Well,
wanna
I
make
have a
sure I
question beyond that.
totally understood, yeah.
I didn't have questions about this, but have y'all, is it all defined what your extraordinary circumstance is, right? So,
It's very broad, so it includes
Right.
disability, illness, caregiving responsibilities, or any other significant or unexpected factor or event which precludes the member's physical attendance at such meeting.
well, that seemed like, so like,
I like it.
gotta cover the cows. That's what you're doing there.
Right,
That's,
cows, the humans, the.
Yeah,
yeah,
okay.
any
I like it.
unexpected factor or event which precludes physical attendance.
And who decides? I
You do.
decide, you decide, or I decide?
You decide.
Right.
You decide.
Very possible.
So if you have one of those unexpected, extraordinary circumstances, just reach out to Ashley and say, I'm having an extraordinary circumstance.
I don't need details, but.
I got a question, it's a stupid one, but. So if a person in the general public wanted to zoom in. Their responsibility is to notify you. And you give them the contacts to do that from their own home?
I don't think we're required to do that unless we're already zooming for some reason.
Oh, I
Right.
think that we are actually.
Oh, we
If we are not zooming, we are not required to. Because they can attend here,
Right,
but if
that's what
they
I'm saying.
are zooming, we do have to get
Right.
to them.
Right. So we're not required to zoom unless we're already zooming.
Correct.
So.
So since
But-
Tammy's on
Weird
Zoom,
vocabulary,
we
yeah.
have to have that Zoom link.
If
Right,
someone
for the
wanted
public,
it,
right.
yeah, we don't have to print it, we have to tell them to contact Lori so
Yeah.
she can give it to
Right.
them.
Right.
Isn't that a kind of a standing Zoom link that you have? for
No,
this?
it's different every time.
Or is it, okay.
Yeah, cause yeah, you're right.
No.
It's been confusing.
Too many way off base there. Well. There's two ways of looking at that as far as the general public goes. I mean, I guess, I mean, it's open if they don't wanna come here in person, but. You know, you could be opening up a whole new can of worms too with people. That are dissatisfied with something and. Not show up in person and.
But
and so-
most of the time, I think, well, most of the time we have enough people here. People come in person enough, so that it will probably be okay. Also, from what the woman of the Office of Open Governance said to me. They've never had, no one has ever commented in the public comment period. And she said that she had sent out, I think, over 70. There are resolutions from over 70 organizations originally, and then subsequently a couple of hundred. No one's ever showed up for a public meeting. And no one has ever objected to the resolution, and no one has ever objected to the video conferencing draft. So the likelihood of someone objecting to the process, probably pretty low. The likelihood of someone having a beef that they want to rail on about on Zoom, probably the same as just coming into this room and doing that.
In fact, I'd almost prefer they do it on Zoom.
Then they can't have pizza.
Then they can't have pizza.
Where I'm looking at it, because I'm assuming that like our county government falls under the same procedure that we do.
No, I don't think they adopted the resolution.
They didn't.
I don't think they did. They're like in person or that's it.
Because they didn't want to get into any of that Zoom stuff. And
Okay, well,
because
that's
they-
an interesting point then, right there.
Well, also because.
I don't feel just comfortable about it here, but if I was sitting there on the board of supervisors, I could see where a meeting could drag out if people could contact them by Zoom for hours and hours.
From the comfort of their home.
Right.
Yeah, but I think that also goes into it's not just because they're on Zoom, they don't have free for all of the agenda. If somebody does not, you have a public comment period. If they don't comment, they're basically just there watching us.
Right.
And not like being able to engage and be like, hey, George, why didn't you do this? Or why didn't CCE Essex do that? So it's just,
But could they ask to be on the agenda?
A member of the public, certainly.
But we do publish the agendas ahead of time too, so they would have to be in contact. I mean, I guess we could add a public comment period to the agenda so that if someone wanted to, they could, but. Yeah,
And there are rules to the public comment period. I mean, you can't
90 seconds or whatever it is.
really drone out. You're not supposed to, right?
Well, yeah, your fist of Ashley, to just.
That's ruthless here.
let's not forget the hay in the car.
The mini car. So don't cross me.
So I'd be
Thousands of pounds.
willing
Hold
to
on.
support or to put a motion forward to adopt it with the knowledge that if we run into problems in the future, we can change it.
Yeah, that's just what I was gonna ask. Can we change it?
Mhm.
Yeah, sure. We could revisit it anytime you want.
I hear a motion to adopt the resolution. for
I'll make a motion.
Video conferencing. Thank you, George.
I'll check it.
Thank you, Trish. All in favor?
Any-
Any more discussion, folks?
Yeah, let's start all over.
What are you thinking, George, exactly about?
Well, you really don't wanna know what I'm.
The motion is passed. Thank you, everybody. All right, any amendments to the agenda this evening? Anyone like to add anything? You can't subtract anything, sorry, but. All right, the previous meeting minutes were circulated. Any questions or discussion about those minutes? Looking for a motion to adopt those minutes. I make that motion. Thanks, Chrissy. Second it. Thanks, Trish. All in favor? Any opposed? Laura. Me? Financial report.
Okay, so I updated my notes. For Steve's recommendation. Are they more visible?
Sorry.
Bigger print.
Your notes on the financial.
My
statement?
financial notes.
Okay.
He said that they were too small.
You want a bigger font? Okay,
Yes, so I
second that.
so I removed part of the notes, but it's all included in the financial stuff. So I provided you each with the summary, which is a summary that I usually have on the top of the balance sheet and statement of operations, which is the first page. And then you got the same financials you receive every month, the balance sheet and the statement of operations. And my notes. Does anybody have any questions before I start? Okay, so our total cash is $450,310.10, which is about $63,100 more than this time last year. Our accounts receivable is $81,941.54 for general receivables and $902 for inter-association receivables. And those are about $29,300 more than this time last year. 83%, excuse me, of our receivables are current within 30 days, 12% are between 31 and 90, and the remaining 5% are over 90 days. Our prepaid expenses is $11,422.97, and there's a list of them to the right. And those are $423 more than this time last year. Deposits and advances is about $230 more than a new way of spelling this time last year. This is the balance of the funding that was advanced for programs and it has since been returned. Non-current assets is the initial payment deposit that is updated December of each year based on an average of 12 months salary, and that's $20,554. Fixed assets accumulated depreciation, less accumulated depreciation is $5,918.40. And the net change to the fixed assets has been decreased substantially due to removing the assets. I'm repeating myself. With a purchase price of $5,000 or less in November of 2021, and there haven't been any other changes since the annual recording of depreciation. Accounts payable. All regular accounts payable are about $1,050 more than this time last year, which is an average amount for payables for CCE Essex, and it includes mileage reimbursements, contracts, and credit card payments for the previous month's expenses. Accounts payable Cornell is $26,151.41, which is about $4,900 more than this time last year. This is more than the Cornell bill at this time last year because it includes full-time executive director and the Eastern New York Commercial Board Program contract expense. That was not included on last year's September Cornell bill. Accrued salary and wages is zero. We only record accrued salaries in June and December unless it's required for grant billing. Excuse me, I had to drink water. Accrued vacation is $6,369.50. This is also adjusted each year in December and it's based on the value of the balance in vacation hours at that time. Deferred revenues, $46,052.49, and there's also a list of what those are to the right. And those are about $6,300 more than this time last year. The difference is, a new way of spelling because as well. Sorry, I'm dyslexic and I don't always control my errors. The difference is because we have some additional grant funds, which will only be recognized as expenses are incurred. Agency funds is negative 2047. That's just funds that don't affect our our operation accounts. Okay, so our net from transfers and current operations, we're currently 75% through the budgeted year, and we've received about 80% of budgeted revenues, spent about 73% of budgeted expenses, and our net from current operations and transfers is $63,541.68. Our revenues are about $40,700 more than they were this time last year, and expenses are about $64,800 more than they were this time last year. The most noticeable difference in our revenues is that our current grants and contracts revenue is about $30,300 more than it was at this time last year. The main reason is that because our grant programs are much more active this year and we are billing for more non-salary expenses than we did last year. And the most noticeable difference in our expenses is that our administrative salary and benefits are much higher. There have been some salary increases, but the main reason is because we have a full-time executive director. Yay. Very grateful.
The best is-
Does anybody have any questions on the financials?
Yeah, I got one.
Okay,
What in the world is that? ENYCHP?
Eastern New York Commercial Work Program. It's one of our contracts through Cornell.
For what?
Those are-
Commercial horticulture.
So those are specialists in
Oh, okay.
vegetables, grapes,
For your commercial tomato business.
That
George,
includes,
stuff.
the dairy person?
That's
No,
the end
No,
product.
dairy is
That-
incorrect. It's another team, same idea, different team.
Different letters.
Different letters.
Doesn't matter. Yeah, so
So like when Rolling,
Well, it's not-
Rolling Hills Farm calls and wants help with their grapes. And so we get to connect them with Jim Meyer, who is part of the Eastern New York Commercial Hort team, and if we don't have the answers. If someone calls about their cows, we go to the NCRAD team, two different teams.
and they have come up our way this year. They do the whole Eastern New York region. They did actually, I did attend a meeting there with them earlier this month, was that, or late October, yes. And they are trying to continue to be available for all of the counties where they work, and because they are in so many counties, the percentage of what we pay, we probably couldn't get that level of expertise for what we're paying because it's benefits us to be part of that team. Same with the ag team.
So what are we paying?
Good question.
Yeah.
For Eastern, it's like 9,000.
I want to say 9,000 and it's. Wait, it's not what 9,000 for NCRAD, I should know that, but I don't have it on tip of my tongue. Slightly higher, I want to say it's higher.
For the NCRAD?
NCRAD is about 9, I'm pretty sure.
I got it right here, this card. So it is 12,600
For NCHA.
for Eastern New York Court. And it's 11,000 for NCRAD.
And the 11,000. It was 9 until. Just before,
October, right?
yeah. It's gone up for 2023. But that's across the board, all the teams both teams have the same increases that. Cost of living increases and other cost increases in their office support and that kind of thing. And again, on those teams, like especially the NCRAD team, it's based on the 2017 ag census. Well, you can imagine there's been a few different, so that counts how many farmers in ag and how many cows, pretty much. There's some other things that they measure. There's been a lot of changes since 2017. And so they do it every 5 years. And both of those teams, the amount we pay for them is based on that ag census, and they just completed it in 2022. So it takes them about a year or more to process them, to all those numbers. So probably in late 2022 or early 2023, we're gonna see a big drop, because in 2017, there was a whole bunch more cows in Essex County.
I was just gonna say, I know that ag team that we have, one for the dairying and one for the crops and stuff, it was based on so much participation per county, because it involves how many counties, 2, 4,
6.
6? So,
Well,
we
it's
shouldn't be paying much for. towards the
proportional.
dairy.
It's proportional, all according to that ag census, but the other thing that happened with the ag team is that they, for better or for worse, we had there was a farm business manager, there was 5 people on that team, there was soils. 2 dairy farmer business, what was the fifth one? Or maybe there are two soils, because Mike was considered, so there's two. Yes. Two soils, two dairy, one farm business. The farm business person left and was not replaced, so that cost overall went down. They are still trying to fill a dairy position because a dairy person left for private industry, a better job. And they have not replaced that person yet. Or did not have any applicants, and so that cost may be lower this year just because that position's gone unfilled. But it was the decision of the six of us not to hire another person. Because the other counties are paying like $100,000 a year, like St. Lawrence County pays like
They
$100,000
should, I mean,
because they have a lot
Or
of.
the lowest.
We are.
oh, we gotta be, there's no question.
Yeah.
Hey, George, you have more time now.
Yeah.
But I'm getting more. Yeah, they're not making any milk. I'm getting more gas. I'm up to 25 milking.
God bless you. You need a relief milker, let me know. I'll send my son.
Yeah.
It's been recorded.
But, this one for vineyards and stuff, I'm assuming that covers the whole state.
No, it's just Eastern New York, and so it's basically all the way down to the Hudson Valley, but along the whole eastern border.
I think I met that guy before.
There's a bunch of them, so
It
Laura.
starts in Clinton
McDermott-
County, but it doesn't go to Franklin County.
No, but they
So
have asked to
Now
join.
they want to, so that one goes down this way and the NCRET team goes across the top.
So Amy Ivy used to be part of that team.
Yeah, I've met her.
Any other questions, George? I mean,
The floor is open.
floor is open. Any other questions, Alan? Financial statement notes for the month ending September 30th. Shall we approve those or go to the balance sheet next, or was it all?
No, it's all
included?
together.
It's
It's
all
all-
in here.
it's all
Yes, your
together.
summaries are
Yes.
complete.
So you accept pending audit.
Okay.
It's the wording we used to be using.
All right, we need a motion to accept the pending audit, barring any more discussion. For this
What,
financial
gonna be audited?
pending. You never know, George.
You're right,
Right?
you never know.
There's a
I've been
financial,
audited.
there's a financial review done each March on
That's what I thought.
on the year before.
But Laura has never made a mistake, so there is not a real risk.
Scotty, just a chance.
Spell though.
Thank you. Just keep it drastic. There's never, no, you never.
Just mix up letters, not numbers. You're not strong.
Well, there's a lot of checks and balances on the numbers, so. That's why that always works out.
You earn your money, that's for sure.
Thanks.
All right, I need a motion to accept the pending audit
I'll move.
for the financial notes for the month ending September 30th, 2022. Thank you, Danielle.
I'll
Any
second.
Thank you, Trish. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion approved. Thank you, Laura. You're welcome. Next. Well, for those of you who were at the annual meeting, it was really fun, if you weren't, and really delicious, and we accepted a new board member, Adam Dewberry. Some of you have met him. He was on the executive director search committee with us. He works at Banca. Yes, he was voted in successfully to the board. Very exciting. He will start in January. Would you like to say anything about Daniel, the other nominating committee rep?
No, I don't have much to add other than, it's exciting to get new people onto the board and we continue to look. We have one more vacancy to fill, so we're going to continue our job and find that person. I think this next year, however, we're going to, now that we have a full nominating committee, take our time, really, help go through the process and get to know each other a little bit more. And Yeah, exciting stuff down the
We're gonna
pipeline.
start in January.
We're gonna start, yeah, we're pretty much.
We started
yeah.
in, yeah.
Yeah.
Tried to start in summer and then we started in the fall, right before.
But we're excited to have that, so it'll be
Yes,
great.
right.
And we staff are keeping a list of people who express an interest or are nominated so that you can continue to review them and sort of have a process for responding when someone says, wow, that sounds interesting.
Cool. Great, thank you, staff.
I like to chime in here. I thought that list that you had to choose from was excellent. I mean, I had a hard time
Right?
going from top to bottom. Knowing most of them personally, but. So. Got to give all the credit to Jackie and Daniel because I haven't done a damn thing on that committee yet, so. Kudos to you guys, fantastic job. So.
You're always with us in spirit, motivated.
Yeah, well-
And they're gonna keep you in the loop, George. so.
Gee, I was just trying to get around to that. I promise I'll be more involved.
Yes.
Okay, great.
Well, one great way to be involved is to just keep the names coming because it's
Well-
not as easy as you think to.
No, I
generate
know, because I have asked numerous people and, I've also asked some people to be on the nominating committee from the general public,
Mhm.
okay? Once I realized that it was open to do that. I never did know that until just a year or so ago. But I haven't had much luck. I guess most of my friends, are not interested in it, so, but I'm gonna keep pushing. But I'd like to see more people just, from the general public be on that committee, you know,
We have 4 now.
what we do.
Yeah, you were not at any of our call
Yeah.
meetings to know this, but there were 4.
Well, and they're also, they're appointed annually, so those
Yeah.
4 could stay or not, but it's actually meant to be a majority of people from the public, not people from the board. So if you have people who might be willing to be on, I think also as the nominating committee clarifies, like, this is how much time it takes.
Yeah,
It's gonna
that's,
be easier than just.
yeah, I
like,
tried to make
being on
sure
committee all
that
the
they
time.
knew it wasn't a full-time thing like being on the board itself, you know,
It's
but
pretty much a full-time job.
for you it is.
Last year it was.
You know, the thing is, I hope that the people that are still on that list, that we make sure that we notify them that we are definitely interested in them to pursue
Mhm.
more openings. Because there's gonna be more coming every year, probably just about. And like I say, I was totally impressed with that list of candidates that you had.
It is great to see, and what's important is whether or not those members at that time have the ability to commit, that we stay engaged with them somehow, and that's obviously
Yeah,
not any one person's job, but it's all of us to continue to engage with those and make sure that when the timing is right, they're there and we're there and.
Well, also that some of them who might have served were interested in being part of the program advisory committees. Because it's a lower time commitment, it's like 4 times a year instead of as much, so. That's also a way for them to kind of check out what the whole organization's kind of like and how it goes, so that
true.
they can do that for a year, 2 years or whatever. you
Get
know.
their feedback.
Mhm.
Great,
Great job.
well, that's Adam. Now we get a presentation from Claudia.
Yay.
I don't have a formal presentation, but I
Oh,
do
just
wanna,
actually tell everyone your role first.
So,
because they don't know you.
I'm an AmeriCorps Vista volunteer, and my name is Claudia, for those who don't know me. And I'm gonna be working with Jessica and Megan for the farm to school and 4-H programs, and I started on the 7th, and since then I've been working Monday through Wednesday, part-time, going into schools with Jessica and Megan, and kind of just like lending a hand and learning for them, because they're so good at what they do. But then next month, since Megan's not here for December, I'll be kind of spreading my wings and flying on my own. And I have a couple lessons planned. I saw on this thing about the taste test of the wheat berry salad. I'll be doing that with Keene and Hillsborough, I believe. Yeah, And just trying to like engage more schools than we're already hitting. Hopefully between the three of us, we can cover all of the schools that are technically like under our charge for ag in the classroom and farm school. And so, yeah,
Wonderful.
hopefully I'll have more to report on what I'm actually doing next time I speak to you, because I kind of just started, but oh, and I guess I would really like to have a 4-H program be kind of like under my charge for this year. I've kind of been brainstorming with Jessica, but my two biggest interests are probably like dairy and snow sports. So we live in a good place for that, I guess.
You could probably
So,
combine that. too.
Yeah.
yeah.
The milkshake's on the mountain.
Yeah, I should actually be meeting, I can't remember when the meeting is, but I'm gonna be meeting like the 4-H club leaders soon. And then we're gonna plan like a general 4-H meet and greet so I can meet the kids, but then I can actually hear from them what they want. And if there's kids who want to learn more about goats, because I worked at Asgard before this, then I'll teach some kids about goats.
How long are you with us?
Technically the service is a year, so at least till next November 7th.
Good.
And honestly, we thank you for your service. That is not another, I mean, it's a year of your life
Yeah,
and you're giving it to us. And it is our tax dollars that support that AmeriCorps Vista program. So something that we're proud to have you do. And it is service. That is way, it is absolutely service. The compensation is not great. We are lucky enough to have.
well, not like.
And we are lucky enough to have you for 3 days a week or roughly half time.
Well, I need to thank you for being so flexible too, because I wouldn't be able to do it if the organization wasn't so flexible and not having me work full time. Because that's what AmeriCorps wanted me to do. And it was like, no, you don't have to do that.
Yeah, I mean, it's really great to have you and thank you for being flexible and with us too. Yeah.
So I just want to say that Claudia has lots of cheese making knowledge, so I hope you can incorporate.
Yeah, the other thing, I will participate in this thing, and it was awesome, and I thank you guys a lot for that.
It was a really,
That was incredible.
they
Hey,
had a great,
Yeah,
we saw cheese caves that were.
it was
right
like
in
mind blowing,
cauldrons,
yeah.
It's like, it was incredible, the quantity of cheese we saw.
You had a little cave envy.
A little, I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
I'd like to make a comment here. I have been a proponent of the 4-H program. Trying to improve that area of our association. So when I was told that they had a volunteer to work with 4-H program, of course, I was very happy to hear that. But I just hope that you realize that we've had some issues with our 4-H program. Lack of leaders, lack of participants in the youth. And we hammered out some things there about getting into the schools, trying to find out what the kids are interested in more now as we've heard. 4-H in this county is no longer cows and cookies, okay? And so I think that I'm hoping that your time here, helping Megan and Jessica, really helps us turn that 4-H program around. I know there's a lot more possibilities there within our schools. And so if there's, when you sit down with the leaders and everything, for one thing, I'd like to be there, okay, if you have a special meeting with them. But the other thing is, I hope you realize how important it is that we get that program back going like it should be going. We're open to any ideas here. We threw things around there before Elizabeth was hired, but we had bigger fish in the see to take care of at that time, so. But now that we've got things in place, that's one program that I think that we can make a big difference here in our association. And that's 4-H.
Yeah, I've been learning a little bit more, because honestly, I wasn't that big of a 4-H kid growing up. My boyfriend was. So his family has absolutely shown me the potential that 4-H has, because see, they're down in Saratoga, of what 4-H could do to like impact families, and it's very exciting to me. So I do look forward to.
Well, don't be afraid to throw anything out there.
It's great too that I think Jessica has really jumped in and already had a lot of success. And on Friday, I missed it, but she attended, there was a statewide 4-H leadership development program that it was all online, but Andy Turner, the guy who's the head of 4-H for the whole state, is totally aware of what we were trying to do in Essex County and 100% behind it. And I really like that he has said 4-H needs to be relevant to kids, so we can do anything, because any project that a kid is interested in is got the potential to give them confidence, to give them a community to be around, other people who like what they like, to be able to give them skills that they can use in public speaking. Any topic is game, and he has thrown out any of the previous sort of I want to say rules, but the expectations that it would be just cows and cookies. Anything is possible. And I really like that attitude. And I really like that Jessica has really taken advantage of all of the encouragement that there is. It's a statewide leadership is saying yes, Essex County. So
Yeah, she's encouraged me to be creative as well, and to kind of pursue stuff that I'm interested in, because that'll help. If I'm leading programs that I myself am passionate about, like snowboarding, then I'm sure the kids will latch on to that excitement. And
definitely.
Well, one thing that we talked about that I hope we don't pursue, and that's cryptocurrency.
She's a kid.
I saw that. They said, holy moly, we were actually gonna teach kids about cryptocurrency.
Right before the class, she said,
Yeah.
I'm leaving, you need to figure out where they're gonna put the cryptocurrency machine. What? Oh my God, Googled crypto, like, what?
It has a machine.
Oh.
Isn't it correct?
And the guy is 30 years old and going down to like the head guy, right?
Yeah, I mean,
that's funny.
Well, and he's got what, some 10-year-old mathematician behind him?
Well, George, I will say, I mean, maybe we can get Jessica actually in the new year too, and Sam can work up the numbers, but I swear we've enrolled way more kids this fall.
She said that to me.
Nice.
when we
Well,
talked
Oh my
about
gosh,
4-H,
there's
yeah.
just coming in like crazy.
I hope we have, and
Yeah.
I think it's because they made it a point here to kick some butt and say, let's get going here. I mean, this talking about the 4-H program and saying we can't do this and we can't do that. I mean, when I see all these other counties doing things the way that they normally do things, it set me off, and I just don't.
Jessica's vocabulary.
No, she already brought in $2,500 to do a teen program. That's gonna be 4 outdoor experiences for teens. It's gonna be skating, skiing, it's all winter sports, skating, snowshoeing, skiing, and
And she was like, I don't know anything about skiing, so.
There you go.
To do that, I was like, yeah, I do.
yeah.
And she's had signups at almost every event we've done. She's had signups. And then they had the thing at Tractor Supply, which I think was like, they meet 4-H. And they said, it's there. I mean, they just, every day I get. Coming in.
There's definitely a lot more sharing of 4-H on Facebook as well.
Yeah,
Just help.
yeah, they're working hard on it. And should we talk about the news? Is there another?
Sure, go for that.
So, I don't know, it wasn't even on the agenda, but it occurred to me, but it happened
Well,
so
it was
quickly
in my report, but.
Oh, sorry, I'm stealing your
No, I
thunder.
think it's a great time
Okay.
to talk about it.
that we hired a new person on Friday. Trisha and Megan and I were the search committee for the new Hort 4-H position. I believe you know her. And she will be mostly Hort, but partly 4-H. So we'll have a third person now in 4-H. Her name's Mina Weymouth Little. Is that right?
Mhm.
She blew us away in the interviews.
And it's so good.
Yep. And we actually had 5 applicants,
Wow.
4 of whom were absolutely qualified. And yeah, we set up 4 interviews for, we just got these applications. What has happened? Great applicants.
Yeah,
You know, and
that happened really easily.
yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't painful at all.
No,
When did she
That's a
start?
first.
no, but she'll start mid-January, so, we want, I really need to train her, and, the holidays are a little crazy, and I'm gone the first 2 weeks of January, so she starts. Actually, at our January board meeting, we'll haul her right in here for an
The
introduction.
17th, that's right.
Yeah, yeah,
He will be the next person on your staff.
Yeah.
presentation.
tons of horticulture experience, was, on nature hikes, age 7, was pointing out the names of plants and things to the counselors. Down at, was it Sweetbriar
Mhm.
Nature Center in Long Island, so, yeah, every which way we turned, she checked all the boxes, so pretty excited.
Yes.
Yeah, and all 3 of her references could not stop gushing about her. None of them knew that she'd applied. And they were just like, this sounds like her dream job. This is so perfect for her.
So
We will
it is,
love her.
it's a half-time position
Yeah.
that if we can secure the funding to make full-time on an ongoing basis, we'll have her full-time. And she wants that and we want that, but it's just whether we can make all the.
Yeah. Anyway, just to bolster that program even further, Jessica, who really needs support,
Well, also you should,
has you, yay. And
Yeah.
has as well.
and also so you know that whenever I go talk, whenever I'm out talking with supervisors or other people, I'm still getting people coming up to me saying, I grew up in 4-H, I cannot tell you how much I want 4-H to be available for my kids or whatever. And yeah, it happened just the other day. And was someone who said, literally, it was Tracy Bluth, and it was at my neighbor's backyard bonfire, and she just said, I would like to help you make 4-H everywhere in Essex County. Tracy, come on down, we're gonna do that. She's capable of doing that too.
She wants to be a board member?
Yeah,
No, actually, she was one of the ones they were gonna ask her to serve on the program advisory committee.
Okay, we'll start
Yeah,
there.
that's one of the ones, I have the names.
I know that it's been Daphne in the after school program. I know the kids really like it when Jessica has come into the after school program. But
Yeah, it's building.
it's great. And to echo George, it would be great if there were some other opportunities outside of our meetings to maybe meet with the 4-H group and talk with the leadership, and I'd be happy to spend a little time outside of this to be able to do that as long as I
Yeah,
have.
Justin was thinking that meet and greet thing would be at the office and be like a kind of broad 4-H meet and greet thing.
Sure.
I'm sure there will be kids meeting each other, just as there will be kids meeting me. So I'll float that by Jessica and have that be like a general thing. Cool. For people who are interested.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Is this next?
That's coming.
I
Okay.
think so, well,
Yeah.
so Mina, if you want to stay, you're welcome to stay for the rest of the.
That's not me, that's Claudia.
Claudia,
Oh,
yes,
What did I say?
Mina. It's okay.
Oh, my gosh.
And I was like, okay.
Sorry, anyway, you're welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting, or you can bug out. if you
I have to go make dinner.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming, Claudia.
Yes, we can do either one. If you want to talk about those staff program reports, that's part of my. It's on the list, so we can for sure talk about them.
Well, it just, I was interested in the $50,000 grant to extend the farmland protection work. I
Great.
just wanted to hear more about that.
Yes, okay, so let me, put if you don't mind, let me put
No,
that into my list.
please.
Great. So, I want to say thank you for that annual meeting. It was really fun. I hope that, I'm sorry for if you couldn't make it, but it was really fun. And I think that we've had the right approach, which is people really wanted to have a good time. They
Yeah.
didn't really want to have a lot of business. They just want to have a good time. So that was just a note to all of us to keep that going. We did, I'm gonna just go quickly. Please stop me if you have questions. We did a little little strategic planning with the staff in November, and we'll keep doing that. for them to be able to sort of align their top priority with the amount of time they're spending on it, instead of trying to do everything all the time, is I'm encouraging staff to do less and do the thing that's the most important thing for their area, like allocate time to that every week. And so we, that was just the beginning. What we did, we still as a board, you still as a board and with the staff, we need to come up with a strategic plan. There has not been one in place. Like the last that we could find was 2020 to 2023, and it was never adopted from what I could tell. And so it's already almost done or partway through. And I think it was probably just set aside during COVID is my guess, because there was turnover and there wasn't, so stuff didn't happen. So it's a great opportunity. And I've been reading a whole bunch of background for cooperative extension. And really the whole purpose of these boards is not to rubber stamp what the staff says, but really to give your stakeholder input. What should we be doing as an association? Like, what is your top priority for us? Not what we think it should be, not in isolation, what we think needs to be done. We can inform the conversation, but we need to plan for that. And we did put something on the calendar in November, in June, on one day thing. Timing, Ashley's already was like, that's not good. So let's talk about the calendar maybe by itself at that. So I had a couple of things to add about finances. We have not heard about our 2023 allocation yet anytime, but there's a public hearing on Monday and we're just waiting. It's really come to the surface how that we are really on a kind of a growth trajectory, and there's a lot more transactions for Laura to process and for the staff to keep up with their side of the paperwork. And that's why we propose that maybe the executive committee meet more often to take care of monthly financials, but the whole board only review the financials in the depth that Laura did tonight quarterly. And you don't have to make a decision about that, but Paul O'Connor did suggest that we write that into the operational guidelines book if you decide that you want to do that. So we will need to have an executive committee approve the final year-end budget in December, but the whole board is not planning, we're not planning a meeting in December. So the executive committee will take care of that function in December. Then in January, you can all, our January meeting will be a little longer because it's an organizational meeting and you have to, but you can adopt that as a practice. So everybody, it's less of a burden to have a report to you every single month, as opposed to just making sure that the oversight is your responsibility. The financial oversight, we'll make sure that that's in order by meeting with Laura on what's available. But there's a process, which I think you've talked about before, where our finance lead for cooperative extension has to review everything before it goes to you or before it goes to the board of supervisors. So the crunch is really on for Laura if transactions don't clear, or if things don't happen, or if all of the invoice requests or checks don't come in, whatever. There's lots of moving parts. So we think it'll take the pressure off a little bit and make it easier for you. So we can revisit that one, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Performance dialogues, or there used to be called performance reviews. Now they're called performance dialogues. They're required by cooperative extension annually. So we're doing them, trying to get them done before the first of the year so that it's behind everybody. It's really, for me, an important component of setting goals. And if you've ever been a manager, you know, if you are telling people for the first time during their annual review that there's a problem, you're probably kind of a little late. So I have no issues whatsoever with any of the people that I manage. I could not be more impressed with their work. I have no concerns whatsoever. Program reporting is also required. That's our numbers that we submit to cooperative extension. That's also a very formal or very sort of rigorous process, I would say, but we will have those numbers into cooperative extension by next Monday. Another thing in my, just sort of administratively, there's an annual report required every year, and we'll have that to the first quarter of the year. Because it will involve and close out financials for 2022, and then we'll have all those summary numbers from property extension too. And then we've looked back through what some of the previous ones entailed. And they might be shorter this year. Unless you have specific requests. I just feel like it's part of our accountability to the public, that the organization's being run well, and that we're having the impact that you as a board expect. And I don't think you'll be disappointed, but yeah, we can talk more about that later too. Some other things, really, I spent a lot of time on doing outreach and creating relationships with other organizations. I have been in touch with Orta about trying to use local food for the university games with no success, but I passed that on to the Taste of New York team. And maybe they'll include some local food, but right now they have not. Have not bit on that idea. We have one of the supervisor's biggest concerns about the farmland protection plan, which passed, was that it just go sit on a shelf and not be anything that be done about it. And that is entirely not the case. This last week, a week ago, whenever it was, Ashley was on a panel that was hosted by the Adirondack Land Trust about how conservation easements work in relation to farm operations. That was one of the topics that was addressed, one of the strategies that was identified in our farmland protection plan. So that discussion is underway. There's going to be a follow-up to that led by the land trust. Then the other parts of the plan all involve different community partners, and one of them was the Well-Fed Collaborative, and talking about food security. And we met Carly, Megan, Mary, and I all attended that meeting. It was really interesting to me that they reported on the community health improvement plan, which is, I guess, done every 3 years. Is that correct? And it was really interesting to me that it was a great meeting. I learned a lot, but there's a very high incidence of youth obesity in Essex County, much higher than the national average. But there was no connection made between the food that kids eat at school. They eat at least 2 meals a day, some only 2 meals a day, period, at school. And so it really emphasized to me the importance of our farm to school efforts and getting more healthy local foods into the school system. And also to the Pop Club, which is a really small thing. And, the kids buying their own produce at the farmers markets, because you have to catch them at a young age to establish like beets are fun or whatever it is. So it just seemed like there's a lot of room for connections there. And an idea that I had was maybe we should have a county food improvement plan every 3 years, or assessment, like what kind of foods are people eating? Where are they buying them? And I don't really know what kind of data is available, but if it's maybe to make a better connections between the community health assessment, which I think is kind of dictated statewide, is that correct?
It's my understanding that the state gives like the priority areas, and then it's local, like county driven, as to how they handle those indicators.
Well, for sure, the county health department has their hands full, so I'm not looking to give them any more work, but it just seems like if that report is revealing this really high rate of youth obesity, we could maybe help to address that specific problem.
And I think in the from the Well-Fed Collaborative, they had a very large report done in regards to access to food, where families were accessing, where the food deserts were. So I think you're gonna find a lot of that data already within that.
That's right. She
Within
referred
that.
to that. Elizabeth Terry referred to that it
Yep.
came out right like February of 2020 and went
Yes.
like into the.
And there was a
Oblivion.
ton of stakeholder surveys, like they surveyed a lot of our older adults, because at that time it was in the summer, late summer, and they were talking about farmer market coupons and redemption, and it was never really looked upon that older adults don't necessarily go to the farmer's market for their produce needs or their fresh vegetable needs. Because they all have little pots of gardens and family, you know, they share this. So there was a lot of take backs from that in regards to access.
Yes, I'm looking forward to learning more about that and seeing how the programs that we're running can maybe help and maybe be part of a solution. And also part of that, so I'm getting to that part about the one of the other important things for our organization, I think, which I think is also shared by the board, is really reaching out to unrepresented stakeholders in the food world. And we did have Lori and Carly and I attended a program today that was run by the Onondaga Farm. Really interesting, talking about growing all of their local and traditional food. And they have their goal is to have stored enough food for their community to be supported for 7 years.
Wow.
And they have 4 years worth now. So that if there were to be a huge disruption in their food system, that they would have 4 years of food to serve all the people in the Onondaga Nation.
Well,
Wow.
That is something to aspire to. And I remember when I first, it just repeats for me the challenge of could Essex County feed itself in the event of a food system disruption. When I first asked that, when I first came, everybody sort of had a slightly different answer, but it was kind of like, yeah, maybe. Yeah, maybe. Depending on what time of year the disruption took place and if ever, it's just an interesting question. I don't have an answer to it, but could Essex County feed itself? Not because we should slam the door on everybody around us, but because can we take care of the people who live here now? That's just a really interesting idea to me. So keep talking about that. Megan asked me to let you know that if you are interested, the 2023 Food Justice Summit is tentatively scheduled for March 2nd. I have never attended one. I don't really know what all happens there, but I think I'll attend. And some of the other partnerships that I'm working on is Cooperative Extension. Jefferson County has been really active and gotten a ton of money for some things that we don't do. And for some things that we already do. So one is they are going to be part of a new food and vegetable wellness program. We already have one at the community, the E-Town Community Hospital. So we connected the dots so that they aren't overlapping and competing, that they're going to work together. And the Jefferson County staff is going to be we can't get everywhere. And so they're going to be working with Hudson Headwaters and think that and Saranac Lake to try and cover the county with more fruit and vegetable prescriptions. And they have contracted with us for some of Megan's time.
nice.
Yeah, so they're in communicate. It's much better to be communicating rather than competing with each other. They also got a huge national award for the energy advisor, which we have done energy work before, but we don't have, it's not a major initiative of ours. And in order for our staff to do what they're already focused on, I was like, let us know how we can help. We can't do that. You guys do it. You got the money for it. Let us know how we can help them. So we will have an energy advisor. So when you see Cornell Cooperative Extension doing energy work, we are in partnership with them, and I've asked them to kind of note that when they're publicizing the program, that they're not just marching in here doing stuff on top of us, that we're working together. And also they did ask about, they have run a camp for 4-H kids. Well, started as a 4-H camp Overlook. And one of their staff reached out to say, could we reach out to businesses in your area to get kids from Essex County to go to camp? And I said, yes. We had a good conversation. Jessica was like, yeah, we'd love for kids to go to camp. There's a little one for Clover Buds. It's like a weekend. And then there's there's week-long programs, and they're just trying to raise money to give kids scholarships to go to camp. So we're working with them now. So another effort is the cuisine trails and the farmland protection plan. Have both, so we've submit applications for 50,000 each to fund positions that we think will support the farmland protection plan. So one is to straight ahead do more of what was done before, which is to help farmers to, right, get succession plans in place. So that means having a will, having a power of attorney, having possibly putting a conservation easement on your property to keep it in farmland. An idea came up for someone that was interested in maybe making their farm a nonprofit. So whatever the plan is for them to keep their farm in farming and keep their family income and their family, in some cases, their retirement safe. So what we'll do is we'll host get-togethers between lawyers and financial advisors and so forth with the farmers. Or if we get this funding, that would be the next step. So it's one of the strategies in the farmland protection plan. If we get that money, which seems we have a great proposal, so I think it'll happen. Then that will be, we will run these programs and then we will give $1,000 to say, I'm gonna use as an example, say Ashley needs the services of a lawyer and a assessor or appraiser, a property appraiser. You will connect the dots between you and FarmNet, and who is sort of a free advisor for farmers in the state, and make sure that it's clear what you want, who the best person is to help you with that. And then you would be referred to lawyers that are familiar with farmland. And then you would get whatever it is, you would write your will, or you would talk to your appraiser. And then they will bill us for $1,000 and we will pay for $1,000 worth of services for each farmer. And the grant's for $50,000. So we hope that we could do it for 35 to 40 farmers to get the legal documents in place that they need to either transfer their land to their kids or do whatever they want with their property without it just going on the market and going out of farmland. So that's what that grant is about. The other $50,000, which I'm very excited. So there's another $50,000 grant we applied for from that same program, which is to help market to help market farms and farm producers. And so the idea is to, again, trying to create resiliency against disruptions in the food system. So if there's a huge 6-foot snowstorm and no one can get groceries, we need to have a way for local food producers to say, we got food, here's how you get it. And so it would help farmers. So that would be mostly with Mary and Carly to be able to help farmers build up interactive e-commerce websites that are really functional, so that someone could go online and say, I need whatever, 6 dozen eggs and I don't know, 50 pounds of potatoes, whatever it is they want locally. So again, it's to shore up our local food system and our local farmers, because it's not just the food system, it's also the economy of those farmers trying to do business. So I think we also are well positioned for that one, and they're new grants that we've never gotten before. And the other one is for the cuisine trails, which is also a way to try and another $50,000 or in that range. I would love to be going higher, but let's see how we do at this range. That we pass the first round of proposals for the Champlain Valley Heritage Network, and that one is to continue to work on the cuisine trails. And it's a lot of marketing for the farmers and farm producers that drive more traffic to their farms, and to create more visibility around agritourism, and really focus more on the relationship between the farms and the forests. Like that's what to promote this place as a farm and wilderness place, and try and also connect agritourism to recreational tourism in the mountains. So there's this huge engine in Lake Placid, right, that is driving, so many people into the mountains, when actually a lot of those customers or consumers or that audience would really like to come and see farms or have a combination. So that's what those grants are for. There's 3 $50,000 ones, and we also applied for a couple of other smaller ones, which will be to create new programs that Megan will work on. Not new programs, but one will be for historic agriculture display. So like guys that used to farm and go to the fair will be interviewed by 4-H kids and talk about what the fair, what the good old days at the fair was like. And it will be interactive so that people can sit down and listen to it, or they can actually maybe record themselves talking about what it was like for them to be at the fair. So
Lovely idea.
I think that, great idea, but don't come calling to me.
fun stories
Because,
about the fair.
I won't even tell my grandchildren what I used to do at the.
Oh, I see. I
That'd
see.
be a whole story.
Believe me. But, no, that's a good idea.
Well,
Yeah.
it covers two things.
For some
One,
people.
it covers two things. One is it covers the 4-H kids getting a skill of interviewing an oral history
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
connecting to older farmers. And it covers, we just hear so much about what the farm used to be like. That's all I hear about. I don't even, like, there's still like a whole new transition that's about to happen with what the fair is going to be like when they figure out what it's going to be like. But so many people are still talking about what the fair used to be like, so we need to record that. We need to talk about it. So that's great. We're gonna do that. Lots of things. I'm wrapping up soon. So I've also been to Composting for Good workshop, a housing summit that was in Mariah. The Ag Food and Environment in Service, a cooperative extension was last week was. Whew, kind of shocking. I attended 2 sessions virtually, one on soil contamination and one on ticks and livestock. Pretty much you don't really want to know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Soil contamination is a thing we have to be talking about. I'm meeting with Alice. And then next week or the week after that, I don't know. I want
Is
to.
it the main thing you're talking about is use of chemicals? Or?
Persistent chemicals in the soil, but how what's the source of the contaminants that are in the soils? Because some, in some places it's heavy metals, in some places it's the flame retardant and water resistant chemicals, the PFAS, and then there's other categories of plastics that are really, really hazardous, but some of it comes through the water, some of it is metabolized through, some of it is coming from the materials that are spread on the soil, some of it is actually coming from the air. And you don't want to know. No, you don't. But we need to know, because we don't know. It's really important that there's still a lot more research that needs to be done about, first off, where is it coming from? How can you control that if it's possible to? And then once it's in your soil, how does it affect, like, can you call it organic? What are the levels, like establishing threshold levels, which is kind of a big deal and hard to do. And then also how actually, if you ingest it, does it affect, if at all, the human body? Or we don't know that yet. And there's a lot to learn, a lot. There has been allegations of connections to all kinds of health issues that the research just isn't out there yet. So that's about soil contamination. Ticks in livestock. Don't want to know about that either. There's a lot of ticks. There's a lot of different kinds of ticks. There are new ticks coming in, and there are 5 or 6 pretty serious illnesses. Lyme disease is not the only thing at all. And so that's all I'll say about that.
Stay indoors.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you something about that soil contamination. The thing is, it's always a matter of after the fact. That a lot of these things that people are putting on their land should be researched a lot deeper than it is before it becomes an issue.
Now,
Because I'm gonna tell you, the state of Maine, I would dare say within 10 years will not have any dairy industry in that entire state. And the reason for it is because they've got chemicals in the ground that are never going anywhere, and they all came from the paper mills over there. And it's in the feed, it's in the animals, it's in the milk. And they constantly monitor it, but they have actually gone into the state of Maine and closed farms right down because of it.
Exactly. They talked about that. Well, and that's where you have to ask, the presentation was really about how do the pasture land plants metabolize that stuff in the soil? Maybe that soil tastes bad because there's stuff in it that they don't know what it is. And so the plants, there's a one level is how do the plants metabolize it? And then the other level is how do the cows metabolize it? And then the other level is how do the humans metabolize it? So it's got to go through a lot for the stuff in the soil to be an actual health hazard, but it could cause a lot of problems along the way. And there's also the soil and water conservation districts are like, this is new. We don't have the labs to analyze this stuff. We don't have it. We can tell you what the pH is. We can tell you how much chloride is in it. We can tell you this and that, but nowhere are there really good labs that the guy who said, I can't tell you where to send your soil to find out if it has this stuff in it. I can't tell you because those labs haven't developed yet. So.
Well, I know our co-op monitors every single load of milk that comes out of the state of Maine. Every drop that comes out of there, because they are right on the edge of being too high. And because the problem is, it's gone on for so many years now, that it's not only in the soil, but it's in the water.
Mhm,
And these animals are drinking that water,
mhm.
so they're getting it through their feed, they're getting it through their water. And the chemical will never, it's been in the ground forever and ever. And so they've set the alarm, that farmers have got to be careful with some of this stuff they're putting on their property.
Mhm.
Because the after fact can be devastating.
It's true, and we think that we're solving a problem when one of the sources of that contamination is actually the sludge, clean sludge, quote unquote, clean sludge from wastewater treatment plants. But then they didn't really know how to test for the things they weren't thinking, they didn't imagine that sludge would contain things that it contains.
It's not so clean.
I mean,
It's not
in Essex County alone, we've had farms that have used that sludge out of Tye Mill for years.
Yeah.
And,
Well, it is full of some of the nutrients that the soil needs, but
Yeah.
what nutrients do you want and which don't you want? And what are the toxic levels of them? Maybe, so I am not an expert on it, but I do care, that is a topic.
it's becoming more of
Well, it's a
topic.
topic that I have some history with in the watershed and stuff, but we digress. Yeah, so anyway, still getting a lot of great professional development. Last thing I'll mention is that, I did have a good conversation with Danny Westover about the fair. Because I just want to keep the lines of communication open, like I just don't want cooperative extension or the Adirondack Harvest to be kind of blamed for like things that aren't going so well for the fair, or haven't gone so well, and I think things are on a good path. He and I totally agreed to keep talking, and he said he doesn't have any issues with how Adirondack Harvest was doing, and how it's great to have two events, and he totally saw why it was a separate event. But I think he's still kind of trying to settle the Essex County Agricultural Society down a little bit and get over the whole fiasco with their money before, and also the changes with not having the Mariah Shock help that took care of that place to the extent that it was taken care of. The Board of Supervisors, I did attend the task force meeting this morning. Things are at least collegial. It wasn't stressful. Sometimes you walk in there, you can cut the air with a knife. It's just everybody's on edge. Today,
Elections are over. So.
okay. So I feel like I was glad I had talked to Denny, I don't know, a week or two ago, and I was glad that their progress seems to be good. With the supervisors wanting to keep working on things, there's a full-time person at the fairground who is doing work, Glenn Williams, is that his name? And Holly Aquino feels like she's doing what she can do. She can't really do a lot to market things right now, but she's trying, and I think that really I just want to keep the communication open. I just don't want to have hard feelings between the fair and us, and especially over the building.
So I guess maybe I missed something. So the Ag Society was upset that Adirondack Harvest had 2 events there? I guess.
No, there
or
was
maybe I
just a lot of, some of
misunderstanding.
the supervisors came back to me and said, this is what the fair should be.
Oh.
And I was like.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, sorry if I didn't explain that better.
No, I missed something.
No,
Harvest
that's
Fest
so,
was too good. Yes.
yeah, Adirondack Harvest was this crazy success, and the
Absolutely.
fair has a different audience and has different. They have a different history, but there were supervisors standing at Adirondack Harvest Festival saying, this is amazing, this is what the fair should be, this is an agricultural fair. And I was like, wow, don't say that too loud, you're gonna make everybody mad. But it was kind of an exciting day for Adirondack Harvest, it was a super success. So I just wanted to make sure that, I don't know, I want good things to happen for the fair and for the fairgrounds. It's a county property. It's a big, very visible property that I drive by every day and go to practically every day I walk on the track, and I just want to be perceived as helpful, for cooperative extension to be perceived as helpful in the conversation, not like against the fair.
There's a lot of online chatter too, that comes up about, too bad you can't combine the events, like, let's talk. I don't
Well,
have to double the size of the fairgrounds, because if you want to keep all your fair stuff, you
Yeah,
want to keep everything we're doing, it's
I
gonna be
think,
tricky, but we can talk.
I tell you what I think is going on. I don't really think that the people on the fair board are thinking that the harvest festival should be combined with the fair. I think where the problem is that, they want it to be somewhat of an agricultural fair. Supervisors do too. And the question, I've heard it over and over and over and over, is because there's fewer and fewer of people in farming like myself. Where are these young farmers in this county that wants to participate in a lot of programs and so on and so forth? Why are they not supporting the county fair? And the supervisors are asking the same kinds of questions like that. Because, large scale commercial agriculture is, not what it used to be in this county, that's for sure. And so the board of supervisors and a lot of other organizations in the county are strongly supporting the agriculture that we do have in our county now. Why aren't they supporting our county fair? And I think that's where there's a little bit of a push and shove there with the people that are on the board of supervisors and on the fair board. They're looking for more support from.
Well, that's why I
ag
called
community.
Denny, like, what kind of support are you looking for? Because we can't manufacture kids with calves. There aren't.
No.
calves.
Right, I think that's the thing, is what is. Like, maybe 20, even when I don't think I'm that old, but 20 years ago, 25 years ago. Agriculture at the fair were horses and cows. Agriculture in 2022 that we're in is not just
No.
horses and cows. And I think that the mindset possibly of the Ag Society is agriculture is horses and cows and goats. And I don't think that they have the broad definition of agriculture.
All you
That's
gotta
my
do is drive
opinion.
around the county and you can see that, there's way more small operations than there are larger ones.
Well, there may be ways that we.
But
can-
I saw something there this year that was a little bit encouraging to me, was unfortunately, they lost the people from Shazy that came down here and ran the Maple Parkers. great people. That there was some recognition in that building of some small farm operations. I think that they would like to see more of that. Now, a few years ago, they had a thing there where in the floral hall, they wanted people to put on a display for their farm, you know, whatever people wanted to do. And, and very, very few people did that. From what I was told, I don't even remember if I even went to the fair that year, but, I know I was approached and, and I've done that before. When my kids were young in 4-H and all that kind of stuff. But that's what they're kind of looking for is, why can't these young folks participate? And I know one thing that really rubbed a couple of supervisors the wrong way here a couple years ago. And I'm just going to tell you, I wasn't there, but they asked a handful of the young farmers to come on opening day. And so they came to the opening ceremony. And of course, there were some high profile politicians that were there. And they talked to them, a handful of these young folks. And as soon as the politic part of the opening ceremony was done, they all left. Didn't even go down into the fairgrounds or anything. That did not set very well with these people that were sitting on the fair board. Asked these people to please come. And they came just for that and then they left. And I had 2 supervisors that were there said they didn't like that at all. So, I don't know what else to tell you, but I know that there is, some kind of a rift there. And I don't know what to do about it, but I will say that another thing is this not even being there, period, the last 2 years has not helped things. I can tell you that. Because I've had numerous supervisors, numerous people in 4-H, in horses and everything else. Why are we doing nothing at the fair? When they go to Plattsburgh Fair, they go to Washington County Fair, they go to Franklin County Fair, and they see everybody, the last 2 years they've been there, they've been doing things as normal as they ever have. But why is Essex County not?
Well, there are
I
lots.
can't explain it.
Yeah, no, I mean, I can see it. That's why I just wanted to reach out to Denny and I don't have a solution.
Well, I think
and
that's a great idea to keep it.
I just,
It's too long to begin with,
The fair,
the fair, yeah.
well, they have shortened it
Well, it's
too.
dirty. I'm
It's
gonna be honest, I
and-
wouldn't let my kids go to do
It's-
some of those activities.
kind of
And
easy.
honestly, I have to say that I did have it got my attention when Megan said, did you see the guy selling bongs at the fair? And I said, are you kidding me? I did not see that.
Roseboro, and they're selling right in the.
I was like, right beside the candy, the cotton candy, like there's a vendor. I mean, everybody's got a right to do a business, but that's not my idea of a county fair. But I can't blame the fair vendors, I mean, the fair board, because they have their hands full. They're trying to pull something out of, their back pockets that is gonna be pretty hard to do. It's I think really that there is a lot of room for a lot of bridge building with the supervisors, the fair board. Public Works, Jim Dugan is doing his best to keep things propped up over there. Holly's doing her best to try and go do things right. So I don't know what the solution is, and we're not gonna arrive at that tonight, no doubt.
No, but I know another thing is that building. If they gotta decide what in the world they're
Well, I
gonna
think
do
they're gonna-
about that building.
I think that's gonna come up sooner than later. But I don't have any intel specifically. I just have a hunch that they're gonna come up with a plan and do something and. It's gonna move forward. They're sick of talking about it.
Yeah, well, I
So
think,
the only comment I had is, and you probably have done this already, is perhaps reaching out to Roost. Because there seems to be some overlap with some of the discussion here, like the cuisine trail, the maybe even, and maybe again, this overlaps more than enough. But advocating for local farms and foods to be at the games. If Taste of New York doesn't get their ear, maybe Roost does because they're right there. I don't know.
I keep talking, but it doesn't seem to be going
Yeah.
very far.
But have
No,
you spoken to anyone at Roost?
I have a good relationship with Jim McKenna, but they're
Yeah.
completely 150% on those university games right now. And
Yeah.
that's all about volunteers to make sure that people don't get hurt while
Sure.
they're athletes in town. And they're
Sure.
gonna be shutting down the entire main street of Lake Placid. And I don't know why I talked to Derek Doty today, who's a supervisor from Lake Placid, and I guess they're trying to make sort of a festival atmosphere on Main Street. And I was like, no local food? Okay, really?
there's probably a lot of red tape to
I guess,
get into.
you know,
that.
and he said, yeah, I don't know, he didn't have an answer for that, I don't know. There's just, they're focused on the athletes, they're focused on the safety, they gotta focus on the media.
Sure.
The people who are doing that are not the same people who are paying attention to food, so. Probably won't get there by January 11th or 12th,
Sure.
maybe. If it was you or me, we might have planned that first.
But when I think about some of the 50,
First.
some of the other programs and the, looking to fund them using these $50,000 pots, there are some other organizations that obviously are out there that I think would love to support programs such as.
I think so too, and really what I'm trying to do is find the sweet spot between making the staff write grants all the time and having programs all the time.
Yeah.
Because it's hugely time consuming, and we do actually have another round coming up, the Champlain Basin program and education and outreach grants are open. Those are really, really solid, not easy to get, but easy to write proposals for, and they're very flush right now, so. But every time I bring up another grant.
And maybe this is for,
Our bread and butter.
strategic planning that we're gonna do in February. But, maybe one of these becomes the next Adirondack Harvest, that becomes a sustainable, self sort of supporting.
Well,
Entity.
even Adirondack Harvest needs to reach out and get sponsors and get, and get grant money. Well, maybe we do, maybe we don't get grant money. I mean, are we still waiting to hear from one for 2022? Yeah, we're still waiting on a Silamo grant, which was supposed to be in for 2022. But yeah, so it's a constant, and I try and stay on top of that as best I can, but they need to run their programs.
Yeah,
And so the sooner
exactly.
that I can get the vocabulary and I have to have a really good sense of what they need and what they want to do. And they have to have a really clear work plan for me to be able to write those grant proposals. Otherwise, they have to write them.
Yeah, right.
So
Sounds like a lot of progress, a lot of connections. I'd like to move things along if that's all
Yeah,
right. We could
great.
go
It's
on and
like-
on, I think.
Plus it's
and-
freezing in here.
yeah.
We could have turned the heat up, it's right there.
That's all right.
We're sorry to take longer than I was expecting.
No,
I
it
just
was all great. I just
feels
need
like
to move those.
we do. We need-
Early, so whatever.
Sorry.
That's okay. Moving along to the January organizational meeting, if that's all right.
Yeah.
We've got it scheduled for January 17th.
That one might be a
What's that?
longer one.
Yeah, that's always a longer one. But we're gonna set up the year with that one. The election of officers, etc. And then in general, we have like the third Mondays penciled in because that's generally what's worked for folks. Is that still true for the people in the room?
Yeah.
To be determined. My kid,
His schedule.
my kids, yeah.
Yeah, that's the same way with me, it's just.
Yeah.
The world revolves around them, so. I couldn't tell you if I could make any of them or not.
So
That would set a date anyway, so.
as I told Elizabeth, I vote for the most meetings at the beginning of the year. And maybe the end is okay, but definitely fewer in the middle, so that's my vote. I know Jackie's on that same page with her work schedule too.
That's fine. We threw it out there just to get something on paper for you guys to
Sure.
discuss. We're not married to any of it. Whatever works for you is fine. And we just, for in our office, August and September. Don't, let's not do that.
That's fine,
Yeah,
that's still busy for us, but yeah,
So,
more in February and April.
Yeah.
That's what I'd vote for strategic
Summer
planning
does,
too.
yeah, the strategic, but maybe the.
Well, the reason why that was put there was because Steve really wants us to go to
Yes,
Minerva.
yes.
He really wants to go to his beach.
Yes.
And he really wants that to take advantage of the outdoor, beautiful outdoor space. There will be black flies in Minerva in June, I'm just saying.
Oh, yeah.
So
Sounds
I don't
good.
know, I just put it on there because that's when he asked you, he was sort of inviting the board to come then, but if it doesn't happen then, doesn't happen then. We can have it another time, anytime.
You could do it in March and do a polar plunge instead.
I guarantee.
There that when my daughters were in the country kids 4-H group, we did the polar plunge as one of our projects and it was
Team building.
been cold.
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree with the June, because if it's on the 27th, I'm away for a conference, so.
Well, let's just take those back, look at them, mark out the ones that don't work, and in January. Actually, if you want to submit them to us ahead of time, we can take another crack at that and see.
Submit other dates that,
If you, I don't know, is this realistic for people to say, just send an email back, looking at that calendar saying, can't do this one, can't do this one. Want to do this, want to do that, and we can try and match it up and see what happens. I don't know what'll.
Sure.
Because we can firm it up in January.
Yeah, I mean, that's the goal, is
Works,
to actually.
yeah.
Like, establish it. The main one that I really want to do is the annual, that we know Adirondack Harvest is when it's gonna be, and we are, so. The annual meeting, just so that people plan to come, because we're gonna.
because it was really fun, let's do it again.
It was awesome.
Something to look forward to.
Yeah.
Yeah. In general, great. Anything else before we close out the meeting tonight?
I'd just like to say one thing about the report here, where we talked about, some of these programs, this is something that I've been talking about here for quite a while, and I like the fact that you brought up some of these things that our staff are doing, and you also put in there the number of people that were participating.
Oh, okay, good, okay.
I think that's extremely important. Because I mean. You know, I wanna see how many people we're actually touching in our county. Through these programs.
Mhm.
And Linda and I went around about this. And she started doing it and offering numbers and stuff. And I think that's very important, if you ask me, because I mean, you can put down anything you want of what we're doing on paper, but. You know, and I had a former staff member say some things to me when that staff member retired. And it was a little discouraging, and she was very open and honest about it, and she's the one that really brought it to my attention. That you guys on the board really should know how many people are participating in some of these programs that are getting paid by the taxpayer and everything else. To see where things are working and where things maybe aren't working, where we can improve.
Absolutely.
You've brought that up where, in some of the programs we've talked about, getting more participation in there. So that's where we gotta start, is find out the programs and the numbers that are participating.
We can pull some of
Start.
that from program reporting too, once we've got all that all done, that has all of our, all the programs we've done, direct contacts, indirect contacts.
I think we should make a report, a sort of summary of our statewide reporting, and some are gonna have huge numbers and some are gonna have low numbers, but some of the low number ones, I wouldn't get rid of no matter what.
Low number
because-
can be high
High
impact.
impact.
Yeah, very,
I mean,
that's what I keep telling the staff.
Good report.
It's fine with me to do less. It's more important to do the important things
Mm.
and have a good impact. And so I think we have a really good variety, a really good rich variety, like to me, in a county like Essex County with however many farmers we have, that 14 of them went to the silvopasture workshop and another 10 of them went to the cheese workshop or the cheese thing. That's gonna make a huge difference in their individual businesses. So those aren't bad numbers to me at all. And with like the senior program and with the DSS programs, we don't have a lot of participation, but those people really need those programs. So it seems like we have to keep. That's why I go to all these other meetings and explain to people what we do so that I can say, are you aware that we have this? So that the programs that we're already doing, that are already planned, have the chance to grow. And I agree with you completely. I'm like, let's look at the numbers, let's find out what's really going on. So at our annual report, we'll have a lot more numbers. We'll have a summary of all that. I think we can easily do that.
Yeah, cool. That sounds great.
You'll be proud.
He's already proud.
But I just, I really think that. We need to try to get as much out of the money that we spend in these programs as we can, and if that takes more. Publicizing things that we're doing and so on and so forth, hands-on,
Well, the way that I talk about living here, as well as what we do at Cooperative Extension, is in Essex County, we count people one by one. We don't count them by tens of thousands of people, we count them one by one. So, and by that, I mean, if there's one kid that has an experience that they would never have, that's a big deal. And if there's, it's okay for us to have our numbers be low. I'll stand by them anytime. And if there's one farmer who takes advantage of getting a will and a power of attorney done, check, complete, that's a win. That means one farm that is not going to go down the tubes because of that.
Let me tell you. That is a part of agriculture that is not taken care of very well.
Starting now, it is.
We had an ag committee meeting there a year or two ago, or about a year ago. And I told, there were some young farmers in the area that were in on that. It was Zoom. And I told them, being in my shoes, being the old man on the block, how important that is to have a plan and having everything scoped out, the way that transitioning, you need to do all that stuff. And I had two guys call me up the next day. I was shocked. They said, I never really thought about that much until you started talking about that. And I said, well, I'm just telling you, it's easy to get into a business deal. It's a lot harder to get out. I can tell you that. And so I think that program right there, could be huge around here because we have so many young farmers that got a lot of assets, a lot of future ahead of them. They better have a plan and, family come along and.
Well, think about it. If we could actually get 35 farmers to follow through.
Yeah, that's huge.
There's only, I think, 104 farmers in Essex County, right? So that's a pretty good head start on keeping farmland
I
protected.
mean, probably 30 came to that planning workshop last fall. There were so many.
Yeah.
And we were all like, sign us up.
Yeah,
Give us just
So-
stuff.
So a little bit of money to help.
that's
give a
your
little
tax dollars hard at
excitement.
work.
Help.
It's your tax dollars hard at work. That's what we want our tax dollars to be doing. So that's where that money is coming from if we get it.
Well, on that note,
Do we have a date for the executive meeting in December?
oh,
Not as of yet, right? Because we're still waiting for.
still waiting for the numbers to.
We
close
should
out?
put
Is
something
that
on the calendar just so that.
We do. It's December 18th.
No, that's like 2023.
Thank you.
You'll be waiting a long time.
Board meetings tentatively scheduled
That's
for
the 19th.
the
Maybe the
19th.
19th.
Right, so I mean, you could keep it at that, or.
It does have to be in person, sorry. I asked Paul.
Okay, it can't be that. I won't be here,
Okay,
but. Let me look.
Are
at
you
the
gone that whole
calendars.
week?
No, just
Okay.
that Friday.
It's
That's
a
it.
Monday.
Well, The
19th.
Monday, the Friday before, oh yeah, the 19th is
12th.
Monday, that's right, sorry.
Tammy, does the
Yeah.
12th work for you? Oh, but it has to be in person?
No, yeah,
Tammy can be. Oh,
That's
right.
early,
Laura
twelfth
doesn't
is
know.
early.
we need to know from the county what we're
Right,
gonna get.
of course.
Okay,
Okay.
so
We
that's,
gotta wait.
that's why, well, that's why I said if you have a date on the calendar, we can, it's easier to go earlier than it is to not have a date on the calendar and it's the 24th and no one is gonna do that.
Sorry, you're right, the 19th is fine, but it's the 16th. that
Oh,
Friday.
you can do the 19th?
I could do the 19th.
Tammy? Does that work for you? The 19th and Trish?
I can do that.
Okay. 19.
December 19.
5:30.
Tammy, are you there? Yeah, she's there. That way, it should be like 5 minutes. Basically, it's look at the printout, make sure that we got the numbers right, and then.
Yeah, I'll give just a little breakdown of anything that's changed. Based
It
on
can be
the-
longer. I
what
shouldn't
we
be
got.
all in
No.
May then.
Are we seeing?
Tonight, though.
With the board?
Not that we know
I'm by no means the board supervisor, but if there was a concern, you would have already been brought in.
of. I asked Mike Mascarenas and he gave me this look that shot me dead. I was like, Mike, is there anything that I should know? Like, people are up there, department heads were giving reports and talking about budgeting things, and I was like, Mike, did I miss a thing? And he said, well, you should have gotten this request for submitting your budget. I was like, oh, we got that. That was in August. I mean, like right now. And I thought for this split second, I thought like there was something I was supposed to,
Missed.
it's fine,
Mission done.
totally fine. We're on track. He said the same thing.
Yeah, you would have been called in a long time ago.
Last year, we received it on the 21st, our letter.
Oh, geez.
So that's today. We didn't get a letter, so.
On November
Oh,
21st.
I thought you.
I'm talking about- Again, this split second.
Gotcha. I'm sorry. I don't think that's gonna work.
So any day, I hope.
We'll let you know.
Right.
Okay.
I made a motion.
Oh,
To adjourn the meeting?
That's
Thanks, Chrissy.
what she said.
Second.
Daniel second, all in favor? Any opposed? Thank you.
Thank you all.
Great meeting.
Do you need help?
If it was not late, I would follow you, so you didn't know.
Yeah.
I don't like that. Thank you so much.
I assume you just have some whereabouts, yeah. You've tried that.
Yep.
And I think Sam likes doing it, and I
Yes.
think it's a real show of support for her to keep doing what she's doing.
Absolutely, absolutely.
I got this.
So, thank you.
Take mine.
Bye, everybody.
Bye. Got your, put your thing right in there. What a good idea.